When I was 8, I played with the 12U team, but at practice it used to be 2-on-1. And when I first got there, I was soft, and it was one of those deals that clicked where they just kept Oklahoma, Oklahoma, Oklahoma. I was getting hammered, and something clicked. I started crying, and then next thing you know, I bust through the line, and then everybody went nuts. So I'm like, oh yeah, I can do this. But when he said, turn down a 6-figure job and go take a $1,500 stipend and free room and board, I was like, at the time, I was like, all right. And I did it. Like most people wouldn't do it.
Exactly.
And I have people all the time, listen, all the time, Tony, they hit me up and be like, man, what do I got to do to get in? What do I got to do to get in? And when I tell them what they got to do to get in, they're like, oh, I can't do that. I got a family. I'm like, you don't want it that bad. You're not in it for the right reasons. At the time, I was upset, but I begged Coach Ferentz to be a graduate assistant. And Coach Ferentz was like, Jerry, he's like, you need to go out on your own and then come back. And like, it's like your dad telling you, like, hey, you got to go do this and earn it first and then come back.
Yeah.
Which I'm so grateful that he said that, because, sometimes you can just be handed something and then you take it for granted, where I had to go out and do it on my own. And man, to this day, like Coach Ferentz is like, I call him, he picks up. He would do anything. He'd make any phone call. So I'm grateful that he made me go out and do it, but like really never had a true father figure. So like most of the men that impacted me because they were trying to help me, because I didn't have much at home. I had all these people that weren't my dads, but acted like my dad at times and was constantly educating me on doing the right thing. And so those people, I felt like that's where it comes from.
Welcome to Show Your Receipts, where we believe if you can see it, you can be it. Receipts are evidence or proof that something has occurred. Our guests are evidence that Black excellence is alive and well. They will be sharing their receipts on how they've been able to accomplish so much in their life. I'm your host, Tony Jackson. Let's get started.
Welcome to Show Your Receipts, where we believe if you can see it, you can be it. I am super excited to introduce my guest today. Let me tell you about Jerry Montgomery, the man who's bringing the fire to the Cincinnati Bengals defensive line. Jerry's one of the NFL's rising stars when it comes to coaching, and he's got the pedigree to back it up. Born on September 19, 1979, Jerry was a baller from the jump. He tore it up at Virgin Valley High School in Nevada, earning All-American honors and even snagging the Nevada State Player of the Year title in 1997. But he didn't stop there. Oh, no. Montgomery took his talents to the Iowa Hawkeyes, where he was a 4-year starter from 1998 to 2002. He obtained his degree in African-American studies. This man was so good, he capped off his college career at the Hula Bowl All-Star Game. Now let's talk about his coaching journey, because this man's been everywhere putting in that work. He started grinding in the Arena League while still playing, coaching high school and community college ball. Then he leveled up, hitting Wyoming, Michigan, and Oklahoma as a defensive line coach. But the NFL came calling, baby. The Green Bay Packers scooped him up in 2015, and he spent 9 seasons there working his way up to defensive line run game coordinator. After a quick pit stop with the Patriots in 2024, Jerry's now bringing his talents to the Cincinnati Bengals. And get this, he's not just a D-line coach, he's also the run game coordinator. Jerry Montgomery is 45 years young, entering his 20th season coaching D-line. This man has seen it all, done it all, and he's ready to take the Bengals defensive line to the next level. Watch out, AFC North, because Jerry is coming for you. Most know him as Jerry, but we call him Pun because he ain't a player, he just coach a lot. Welcome, bro. We're happy to have you on the podcast, man.
Welcome. I mean, shoot, thanks for having me. So, shoot, man, you did a hell of a job there.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. I'm just gonna lay it out. This is the most exciting interview I've done, just because I know you so well. You were a huge part of my development in Iowa. I still remember when I first got to Iowa. Pun, you had the house that all the freshmen stayed in. The house was jumping all the time. Anytime you needed something, you were the person to call. And so, just man, hats off to you and all your accomplishments, all your success. As I was telling you earlier, man, like it's something unique about you. Like you were like when we were young, when you were 20, 21, you were very, very mature for your age. When everybody else was wilding out, partying, doing all these different things, like you were like a serious relationship, like you were like taking care of your business, like you were just always a person, even though we were kind of not too far from the different ages, you always seemed like the adult in the room. And so I've modeled a lot of my career at Iowa after you. And it's just a pleasure to talk to you today, man. I see you got the hat on, you representing the Hawkeyes. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
you
So
know,
I just want to chat with you today. Let's first start off just talking about coaching. Did you always know that you wanted to be a coach, or when did that dream come about for you?
it's crazy because every time people ask me, it goes back to middle school.
Mm.
The physical ed in Union Middle School in Salt Lake City. Coach Landry, our middle school PE teacher, old school cat, had the three-stripe Adidas zip up, was cool as a fan,
Yeah.
used to do the crazy trick shots,
Yeah.
and then just I always said, man, you know what? I'll come back and be a middle school gym teacher and coach high school.
Yeah.
And then that led me into when I went to Iowa, I wanted to, get my physical education, which they didn't have. So I had to go into sports, health, leisure, and studies.
Mm-hmm.
And then end up getting the African American studies and got a minor in schleps.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how it started, and that was the direction. I had no idea that that passion would grow into what it is now, but it really, it started with having a great coach and teacher in Iowa City, in Ron Aiken. So like,
Yeah.
I always knew I wanted to do it. Always knew I wanted to work with young people. But like being able to get a head start by having a great teacher and coach, because I've been around a lot of bad guys that can't teach the guys. They know the scheme, but they don't know how to get the guys, the Jimmies and Joes, to go from point A to point B. And,
Mm.
and Coach Ron taught us that. So when I left there, I had a head start because the detail in which he taught and coached helped me to where I'm at today. So but yeah, it really started in middle school, and then when I got done playing, I couldn't stick. Right, went to New Orleans, got cut. Went to Buffalo, got cut. Did the arena deal, and that to me wasn't real football.
Mm.
And so at some point in time, it was like, all right, I got to get into the real world. And matter of fact, Coach Aiken's the one who called me. I
Mm.
had just accepted a medical sales job, Tone, and
Mm.
I'm like, I'm gonna make some real money. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
And then Coach calls me the day I accept the job and goes, hey, there's a junior college job at North Iowa Area Community College. Um, he goes, I think that's what you should do. You should take that job. And I said, well, I just got this job. I'm gonna make six figures, Coach. And he goes, well, this is who you are. He goes, it's $1,500 stipend, free room and board. He goes, this is who you are. This is what you need to do.
Mm.
And I had to go home and tell the wife and say, hey, what do you think? And thank goodness she was supportive enough that we ended up doing it. So we moved to Mason City, left North Liberty with the wife and two kids, and moved into basically a dorm room or
Mm.
apartment inside of a dorm, and was the head resident there, and then just that's how it all started.
Mm. You mentioned Coach Aiken. Shout out to Coach Aiken, the GOAT,
Yeah, there
defensive
you go.
line coach. I mean, obviously, Coach Aiken played a major role in a lot of us, even those of us that didn't play defensive line
Right.
at Iowa. Who were some of your and you mentioned your your middle school PE teacher? Who were some of the other earlier influences in your life? People who inspired you or just gave you belief that you could succeed at a high level.
Yeah, I mean, really, I mean, you mentioned earlier, like, hey, I was, I acted older and all those things. Well, only reason why that happened is because I had been through the stupid bullcrap stuff early on, whether
Mm.
it was in high school where I got expelled for a hazing
Mm.
incident when I was a sophomore, right? And so I had to figure it out then. Like, if I really want to do this, I had to transfer schools.
Mm,
Um, I had issues with the ACT, so I almost had to go to a junior college. I had
mm,
to take the ACT, a good 7, 8, 9 times
mm,
until I passed. Wasn't eligible until after training camp started.
mm,
I was close to flunking out of school at Iowa as like a sophomore. So like I had been given multiple opportunities and I'm like, man, I got to figure this out.
mm,
And so that's where, you guys start rolling in and I had to figure it out or, I had to shit or get off the pot to be honest with you.
mm.
And so at some point in time it hits you and you got to grow up. And so I did that at that point in time. And so but again, Ron and to that point, Coach Ferentz, he gave me multiple opportunities and thankful for that because I wouldn't be where I'm at today had I not finished school, got my degree, and been molded by those people there. To be honest with
Mm. And let's dig into that perseverance though, Pun, like because we know a lot of people who went through some of the same situations and didn't make it, who, they were there on campus and then they were back home. Never saw them again, never heard from them again. What was it in you or what was it about you that caused you to continue to persevere when the ACT after ACT after ACT, the struggles with with the eligibility while you were in school? How did you overcome some of those academic hurdles?
you. You know what? I just again, as a big athlete, people tend to cater to you, right? I deal with that on a day-to-day basis now with the guys that I coach, whether it was in college or here.
Hmm.
Like big men that are good athletes, people tend to cater to you because there's not many of them. So what happens is you tend to get comfortable or go through the motions and feel like, you know, at the time you don't think like that, but like that's what's happening. You tend to go through the motions, not put your best foot forward, right? Or somebody's always going to bail you out, and
Mm,
and you get to that point where you're like, man, I got to figure this out, man. I didn't just come all this way. Like my dream was to play in the league. My dream was to go play big time football, and all this is flashing before my face and being taken away from me. So I better figure it out. And so it just like I didn't have anybody at home saying you got to do this, you got to do that. It was just something that in here that was like, all right, I got to figure this out, and that's what I did. And I think, like I said, there is too many young men that don't figure it out, or not willing to, or when they do, it's too late.
mm,
And so I'm thankful that I had a lot of things happen, and a lot of people gave me opportunities. And eventually, I'm like, all right, I'm going to lose everything that I worked for
mm.
because I want to hang out too much or I want to do this. And so you just kind of figure it out. And thank goodness I did it in a timely manner. So
Absolutely, absolutely. And what's interesting is, I think about you as a player. One thing that I always remembered about you as a player, first of all, you was the biggest dude I ever seen dunk a basketball. I'm like, how is this dude 300 plus pounds in this gym dunking like this? Like, this is crazy. But one thing I remembered about you is, unlike anybody I ever met, because most people who play D line, for the most part, what they want to do is just get sacks and sack the quarterback. And run block, stopping the run is like, okay, yeah, I do that, whatever, whatever. But I remember how it was like you like loved goal line. Like you love to be in the trenches, goal line defense. You know what I'm saying? Like that was just your and so now to see you as a defensive line coach and a run coordinator, it's like a run defense coordinator. It make perfect sense because when I think about you, I'm like, Pun love to stop that run. You know what I mean? You was one of the most athletic dudes as a big fella, but you love to stop the run, and so it just makes perfect sense. Do you kind of see it the same way? Like it seemed like you had that passion for run stopping, back when we were playing.
you know what, that goes back to growing up in Louisiana in a small town called Mossville, Louisiana, the home of the Mossville Knights. So Kerry Rigmaton, my little league coach, who comes to a game every year, Okay, no matter where I've been at, he's come.
Mm.
But we learned at a young age, okay. I'm telling you, we got paddled when we didn't practice hard. Like
Mm.
we got the wood. We got the wood.
Mm.
And a couple of the coaches were fraternity bros. And like remember, we played a team called Benton, old big country cats that came to
Yeah,
town,
yeah.
and they were getting at us, and we hadn't ever lost a game.
Wow.
And so at halftime, they brought us around the rec center, gave us that wood. We went out on that field, and we set that tempo.
Yeah.
But it goes back to, and it's probably not legal now, but we were raised by Coach Rick Maton. We would do 2-on-1. We would do 3-on-1.
Mm.
They were gonna find out early and often you weren't gonna be soft playing for us. So
Mm.
and like it wasn't good for me early. Now I was a big kid early. So when I was 8, I played with the 12U team.
Mm.
So we were all one team. So it was like the U team, and then the older team was like 12U and up. I was so big. I was like in sixth grade, I was like 6'2", 205. But like
Wow.
when I was 8, I played with the 12U team. But at practice, it used to be 2-on-1. And when I first got there, I was soft. And it was one of those deals that clicked where they just kept Oklahoma, Oklahoma,
Mm.
Oklahoma. I was getting hammered, and something clicked. I started crying. And then next thing you know, I bust through the lines.
Mm.
And then everybody went nuts. So I'm like, oh yeah, I can do this.
Yeah.
And that's when it clicked. But that's how I was raised. Hell, when we played football at the park, it was heads up, 7-up.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
any confrontation, it was like, okay, go get the ball, heads up, seven
Right,
up. And
right.
it was like no helmets. It was, and we would go get it. But like I was raised on being physical at a young age. And trust me, teams quit when we played because
Mm.
we was smashing
Mm.
and hitting. And so it was instilled at a younger age that, so when I got to college, like the physicality part, that was the easy part. It
Exactly.
was
Yeah.
just, and so I always loved it. When we did goal line period, Tone, you hit it on the head. Like, let's get it. I
Yeah.
was jumping the snap count. I was trying to, you know, yeah, and so that to me is where it started. And to me, like I always tell my guys, I said, you are a reflection of me when you step on the field, right, wrong, or indifferent. What you put on the field is you represent me. And so if it's bad, shoot, I'm allowing it to happen. If it's good, that's what I'm demanding from you.
Yep.
And so, like, hopefully, when the Cincinnati Bengals step on the football field, you're going to see a physical front. Not only they can stop the run, but we're going to be able to affect the quarterback too. So, but yeah, so that's what molded me, man. Mossville, Louisiana, right there. Mossville Knights,
Mossville turned
maroon
you
and
into a
gold.
savage. Yep.
Uh,
Yeah, man.
Pick used to pass rush.
Right,
I
right,
used to
right,
take up
right,
his
right.
gap.
Pick one of the pass rush. Pick one of the pass rush. He ain't want no parts of that run stopping in the middle like that.
No doubt.
And you, like I said, I modeled my game after you. Like on the offensive end, I took pride in blocking. Like blocking, I know most tight ends, and now especially the newer tight ends in Iowa, they known for being receiving tight ends. Like I got excited when I knew Fred Russell was running the ball behind me or Jamel Lewis.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
like, run it behind me. And so yeah, that griminess, that not griminess, but
Yeah.
that blue collar approach to football is what I was all about. And again, I feel like you one of the key people that has set that tone, and it's still going on today in a lot of ways. I want to dive into your coaching career and
Yep.
specifically, and so you start off coaching at a community college in Iowa. You work your way up to coaching at Wyoming and in some Power Five schools. You were coaching right before the whole NIL situation, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Way before that.
So,
Yep.
so what was your coaching experience? What was your college coaching experience like? What was that like going from excuse me, the community college to now going to the Power Five universities?
To be honest with you, Tone, there wasn't much difference.
Mm.
Like at the end of the day, whether I was at the junior college, Northern Iowa, Wyoming, Michigan, or Oklahoma, like it's not a job for me. I enjoy and I love what I do,
Mm.
but like there's nothing better than molding young men. So
Mm,
when you get me, we're going to talk about life. We're going to
mm,
talk about more things than just football. Now, when it's time to work, we're going to work.
mhm,
But like I'll be in the middle of teaching something and something will hit me and I'll just stop
mm,
and we'll start talking about life. And like I remember being a rookie with the Saints, like my wife talks about this all the time. She's like, "You got there, you didn't even make the team, and you wanted to buy a brand new excursion and all this." And something like that will hit me, and we'll just talk about it. Like, hey, guys, like what you do with your money is so important. You're gonna make, and nowadays in college they're gonna make it, but I just like, hey, to go buy a 80, $90,000 vehicle that's gonna lose value the minute you pull it off the lot. I'm
mhm,
like, you ever think about investing your money in a rental property?
mm,
So we get into deep conversations about life and
mm.
how they can set themselves up or even their kids. Um, and then I'll get caught and I'll be like, all right, we got to get back to work. But like to me, like when you're coaching college, even professional athletes, like you're not just a coach, but I mean, you're molding young men. And so there's no better feeling than being able to teach a guy and he finally gets it. And he's like, Coach, man, that works. That
Mm,
works. I see what you're saying. And then to have guys call you every single year,
mm,
no matter where I'm at. My guys call me from Wyoming, Mike Purcell,
mm.
Mitch Unrye, my guys from Michigan, Frank Clark. I mean, I see these guys, it's like we never, have stepped apart.
Yeah,
And so that to me means more than anything that,
yeah,
that I have these life relationships with these young men that I help mold. And they're very appreciative. At the time, sometimes they don't like me
yeah,
because I'm extremely hard and demanding
yeah,
on them, but they know I care about them. So they allow me to coach them hard. But again, like I said, I'm not always the guy they want to be around because I'm constantly on their neck about doing things the right way. And then guess what? The phone rings 3, 4 years later, and coach, man, I'm so thankful and
yeah,
appreciative of the things that we've talked about and how you held me accountable. And so that means more to me than anything. And sometimes my wife will even say, look, she's like, I feel like you really loved college a lot more than the NFL. And I just told her, I said, I enjoy them both, but I'm still doing the same thing at this level because we're still getting young men that aren't fully developed yet
absolutely.
from a personal aspect. So there's nothing better than getting these guys here and help molding them and help trying to say, look, you got to max out your 401k. If you do anything, you max that thing out because every dollar you put in, they're putting in two. Ain't nobody else doing that,
Right,
And so I'm like, if you miss that opportunity, you're gonna regret it 10 years from now, you
absolutely.
know. So so yeah, it goes a lot deeper than that. I'm blessed to be able to do what I do, and I was a sponge as a player, and that's really, like I said, Coach Aiken was I was a sponge to him, and then he's the one who pushed me in it, and then once he did, like it just took off.
Mm. You know, the term player coach gets thrown around a lot. And I feel
Yeah,
like it truly applies to you because you're not, like you say, you're not just about football. You're about the developing and building of young men. And so I guess the question I have for you is where did you get that connection from to be, in film room talking about a blocking scheme and then you feel called to now give them advice on financial stuff or give them life advice. Was that something you got from Coach Aiken or was that just something that you developed on your own or was it somebody else who impacted you to remind you that it's bigger than just football?
I think I had so many people like influence my life that weren't a part of my family because I didn't have a dad at home, right?
Mhm.
My mom was a uh, single parent at times, and then she was remarried, but like really never had a true father figure. So
Mm,
like most of the men that impacted me because they were trying to help me because I didn't have much at home. So
mm,
I mean, you go back to Scott Robinson. He bought me my Letterman jacket after my freshman year of high school
mm,
because I couldn't afford one
mm,
as long as I was doing the right things. Lee Leslie, my high school coach in Salt Lake City, got me contacts. And so, like, I had
mm,
all these people that weren't my dads, but acted like my dad at times and was constantly educating me on doing the right thing. And so, those people I feel like that's where it comes from. So like I feel like people constantly on me about doing the right things, investing in this, or what you put into it, you get out of it. And so I think when I started coaching, it just happened, Tony. It just happened
Mm,
where I'm like, you know what, I've been through this. Um, you know, all these things are cool, but they're materialistic things. You can do a lot more with this. And but I think it was because people was always on my head about doing those things, and it just rubbed off, to be honest with you.
mm.
So yeah, so very thankful for those people.
Absolutely. Talk to me about one of the concerns that I see is that a lot of players, a lot of people who formerly played, who played at a high level, whether they played at a high level in high school, but really more played at a high level in college, maybe even played some years in the NFL, a lot of people find it very, very difficult to ever make that transition to their second act. Whether their second act is still in football as a coach or whether their second act is in business or professional or anything like that. What was it like for you to make that transition? And if somebody is watching this who is currently in that process of making that transition to their second act and redefining themselves, because I know we get caught up in the idea that I'm a football player. I'm a football player. And sometimes it's difficult to ever see yourself as something else. What how did you make that transition? And what advice would you give to somebody who was also in the middle of that high school to college or college to pro or pro to retire transition?
Yeah, I mean, be honest with you, like I got married right out of school, and Natalie got pregnant right away, so we had our first kid, right? And I'm working at McGregor's. I got a college degree, and I'm working at McGregor's, and thank goodness to my man, he always took care of us. But like, it was one of those deals where it's like, man, you got to grow up, like, babysitting my son, playing video games, and like, you know, you're just like, I went to school to get a degree. Um, I need to be better than this, and so like that. I'm gonna just tell you, just having a child
Mm,
and like being like, all right, I want more for him than what I had.
mm,
So what do I got to do? And to be honest with you, thank goodness Coach Aiken called and said, "This is what you need to do."
mm,
I would have I was going to figure it out either way. All right, but when I thought, all right, I'm good with my mouthpiece. I'll be able to do medical sales,
mhm,
and I'm good with people. But when he said, turn down a six-figure job and go take a $1,500
mm.
stipend and free room and board, I was like, at the time, I was like, all right. And I did it. Like most people wouldn't do it.
Exactly.
And I have people all the time, listen, all the time, Tony, they hit me up and be like, man, what do I got to do to get in? What do I got to do to get in? And when I tell them what they got to do to get in, they're like, oh, I can't do that. I got a family.
Mm,
I'm like, you don't want it that bad. You're not in
mm,
it for the right reasons. I didn't get in it for the money.
mm.
All that's nice, and I'm grateful to be able to do what I do for my family and my kids, but I never even thought about that when I got into it. And so I would have worked for free at Iowa as a graduate assistant or a
Mm,
student assistant, whatever. I would have did whatever it took. Once I got my foot in the door, man, watch out. And that's why I think I moved up so fast. I went from North Iowa Area Community College, and then Mark Farley, the head coach at Northern Iowa, walks in and says, "What are you doing?" Because I dealt with the recruiting piece of it.
mhm,
He goes, "What are you doing at a place like this?" And I said, coaching ball. And he's like super impressed. He goes, "I want to get you up here as a graduate assistant." And then I called Coach Aiken and I said, "Coach, what do I do?" He wants me to go as a GA at Northern Iowa. Now you know, men, they he, so he goes, "Now you know they don't have 10 full-time coaches." He goes, "So if you can bargain for you to actually coach a position and recruit an area, you're going to get more value than just being a graduate assistant."
mm,
He goes, "Because the best experience is coaching your own room and learning from your mistakes."
mm,
So when Farley called back, I said, "Look, coach, I'll do it." I said, "But I want to coach a position. I want to recruit an area."
mm,
So he goes, "Good. You're a graduate assistant. That stipend will pay you. You got to go to school, but you'll coach the nose tackles. and then from there you'll recruit the St. Louis area.
Mm.
Man, and then it was on and popping. So I went there one year. There was a full-time D-line coach, Jeremy Gold, and after one semester, all right, I killed it in recruiting, did really good with my nose tackle, and all I was doing was coaching what Coach Aiken taught us.
Mm.
And then they let him go and hired me full-time as the D-line coach.
Mm.
All right, and so that's where it started, and was there for 3 years. And then crazy story, I ran into Phil Parker on the recruiting trail in Iowa City at the airport, dropping off a recruit I had, John Baptiste from New Orleans, at the airport. And Coach Aiken, or not Coach Aiken, Coach Parker, Phil was like, "Oh man," and he just short talk. But then I go back, and then like the next season, towards the end of the year, he calls and said, "Hey, would you go to Wyoming?" And I was like, "Man, shoot, I'd crawl to Wyoming. I'm making like 25 grand or something like that." I said,
Right.
"I'd crawl to Wyoming."
Right.
He goes, "Well, I'm going to get the D coordinator job. I can bring a guy. I want you to come be my D line coach."
Mm.
So I'm like, "All right, bet." Well, he obviously doesn't take it. And then Dave Christensen calls me back and says, "Hey, would you still come regardless of Phil?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I'm in."
Yeah.
So then I go to Wyoming. I'm there 2 years. And we turned that program around that first year. We go to a bowl game.
Mm.
And then in that second season, towards the end of that year, I had Utah, Indiana, Coach Sumlin at Houston, and there was one other school, all asked to interview. So I interviewed, got all three or all four jobs, and I ended up going to Indiana.
Mm.
All right. And then after that Indiana job, I was there for about a month recruiting, and then Brady Hoke was the head coach at San Diego State, which was in our conference, and he got the Michigan job.
Mm-hmm.
So he calls. I'm not even a couple weeks in the job. He's like, "Hey, would you be interested in Michigan?" I was like, "Man, yeah." and so basically, I get through the recruiting season, and then I go and interview with Coach Hoke and Greg Madison. And that's kind of how it all happened. And
Mm.
then from there, Oklahoma, and then from there to Green Bay. But yeah, no, I probably got off
No.
tilt there, but like it just, I would have done anything to, and I begged Coach Ferentz to, and I'm gonna just tell you this. At the time, I was upset, but I begged Coach Ferentz to be a graduate assistant.
Mm.
And Coach Ferentz was like, "Jerry," he's like, "you need to go out on your own and then come back." And
Mm.
like, that's like, it's like your dad telling you like, you know, "Hey, you got to go do this and earn it first and then come back."
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I'm so grateful that he said that, because, sometimes you can just be handed something
Right.
and then and then you take it for granted.
Right.
Where I had to go out and do it on my own. And man, to this day, like Coach Ferentz is like, I call him, he picks up.
Yeah.
He would do anything.
Yeah.
He'd make any phone call for me.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful that he made me go out and do it, and it just worked out,
Absolutely.
But to hit on that again, people are afraid to take a chance on something that they say they want. If you want it that bad, go get it, because if you put your mind to it, you'll figure it out.
Absolutely. Man, it's a couple of things that you just said that I want to kind of double tap on and go back on. First, the point that um you were willing to take a huge step back. You go from doing all these different things, playing football. Now you're living in a dorm, basically with your wife and your kid, but it not a lot of money, but it was the passion. You weren't chasing the money. I think so many times people get caught up in getting the bag and chasing all this kind of stuff, but you were chasing the passion, whether it was the adversity you had to deal with to be able to overcome the academic challenges to play, and then it was the getting your foot in the door, and taking a step back financially to be able to go and start your coaching career. But also something that's very key, because I know somebody personally. I'm not going to mention their name, but I know somebody personally who tried to become a graduate assistant, gave Coach Ferentz a call. Coach Ferentz gave them the same response. And I almost feel like Coach Ferris's response almost was devastating for them. And they never really continued their coaching career because they feel, oh, they did me wrong and he ain't gonna give me this coaching, this GA job, and so forget it. You didn't take it like that. You still maintained the relationship, went out and did what you had to do to take care of your business and come full circle. Like you say, now you can pick up the phone and call them at any time. The relationship is still strong. That's something that a lot of people don't do. I guess the question I have is, did you know, did you always have faith throughout this whole time when you were struggling, when you were, trying to get this coaching thing going? Did you know that you were gonna be this successful, that you were gonna be able to continue to rise up in the ranks? Or were you like, you know what, if I coach at Northwestern Community College for the next 20 years, I'm okay? Like, were you resigned, like, if that's all I do, I'm okay? Or did you know, like, okay, this is a stepping stone, I'm gonna take the next step, next step, next step? How did you approach that?
I didn't know, Tone. I didn't know anything, to be honest
Mm,
with you. I just went and did it, and I knew I enjoyed it because when I got cut from the Saints, I came back and was a student assistant because I had a semester left of school.
mm,
And so I was around it. We went to the Orange Bowl that year,
mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
I was around it, and I just like, man, I'm going to class and coming back to the office. I'm like, this didn't work to me. Like this, I enjoy being around this. I love being around the guys. And so it never crossed my mind, and I never thought I was going to be where I'm at. All I did is just kept my head down. When I was at the junior college, Tone, okay, I was the strength coach. All right. I was the recruiting coordinator. And hell, what I did is I'd get the mailings that Iowa was sending to our players, and I was recreating it in the Nyack Trojans letterprint, and then I was mass sending it out. Like I'm like, all right, whatever. I got the strength program from Doyle,
Yeah,
and then I knew the lifts,
yeah,
so we
yeah.
was in there getting it. We had winter conditioning outside in the snow.
What?
Like we was getting it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
guess what? When we played football, like you can tell, like I had an impact on, I don't mean to sound full of myself, but
Yeah,
but it all comes from where we came from.
absolutely.
And I trained and I taught those guys how we were taught and how we trained and held them accountable. Yeah, they was late. They pushed that wood. Um,
Yep,
yeah,
yep,
yeah, they had to roll in the snow,
yeah.
like we're gonna do, and guess what? We were better for it.
Mm,
But like I did it all at the JC, and I never even thought twice about it. Like
mm,
it was never like it was work to me,
mm.
And look, I went and got Chickasee Ijiazi.
Yeah, yeah,
Fred Barr was our linebacker coach.
yeah, yeah,
Um, I mean, yeah, it was us three.
yeah,
Fred was the linebacker. I did the front.
yeah,
Chickasee did the back end,
yeah.
and then I coordinated it. And then Chick, look at Chick. Chick is now I was upset because Chick got hired at Iowa from Nyack, from coach
Right.
immediately. Now he's with the Titans.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of salty about that, but like I was like, you know what? I just got to keep proving my worth,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm gonna show, and I always had that chip on my shoulder,
Yeah.
so I never took it like, coach didn't like me or whatever. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna just show him. I'm gonna show him. I'm gonna prove to him that like he should have gave me that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go back to this. Coach Aiken left as the line coach to go to the NFL, and I get a call from Coach Aiken and Norm Parker. Said, Jerry, you're going to be our next D-line coach. Okay? You're going to be our next D-line coach. Be ready. We're bringing you in to interview. It's going to be very informal. Just get down here. And then the day before I go down for the interview, I get a call and said, hey, you're still going to come down and interview, but they're going to hire this Rick Kaczynski guy. Somebody in the building stood on the table for him.
Mm.
Okay? And man, I was so like hurt and
I
like,
didn't know that.
oh yeah. And so when they hired Rick Kaczynski, I was supposed to be that guy, but whatever happened behind closed doors happened behind closed door,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't me. But I took the opportunity to go down there and interview.
Mm-hmm.
And in the interview, Rick was an O-line guy. They basically had me teach Rick how we run games up front from a pass rush standpoint.
Wow.
Okay, so I'm thinking to myself, man, not only did I not get the job, but but I could have went totally south with it, but
Right.
I didn't. And all I kept saying to myself is like, I'm gonna just prove everybody wrong. I'm gonna show
Mm.
everybody my worth. And then little did you know, Phil Parker got me the job at Wyoming because he was gonna be the DC and he didn't take it. But he had such a conviction on me that the guy that Dave Christensen that took the head job was going to take me regardless.
Mm.
And so, I'm thankful for all those things that happened because it kept me hungry, and I took advantage of those opportunities with the chip on my shoulder. So,
Mm.
yeah, so it's just crazy how things work. But like, I got no ill will, man. I love that place. I go back. My son plays there, and my other son is a student assistant in the football office.
Oh, your son plays at Iowa?
Oh yeah, yeah. So Jaden's a redshirt sophomore
Oh,
linebacker. He plays on 4 phases on special teams, and then
okay.
he should be in the mix for a starting job this year.
Okay.
He got to go earn it, but like, super instinctive kid, doesn't have the height of me, probably like a 5'11", 230 linebacker,
Okay.
but he's a thumper, very instinctive.
Yeah.
And has a nose for the ball, but I think probably like everybody would say the knock on him would be his size. But don't let it fool you now. He done cracked some helmets
Oh.
like old Abdul
Ooh.
Haj.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And keep in mind,
So
that's the new linebacker anyway, right? Then you don't want 5'11", 230. That's what you need right there. Somebody that can go sideline to sideline. So
yeah,
man, that's what's up. Man, you telling me a lot of stuff that I didn't know. But man, so you go into Iowa, you get the call that you go get the job. They call you back later, say you're not gonna get the job, but come still. You go, and then you gotta teach the person who's getting the job. Man, how did you maintain your composure though? Like, how did you not? Because I'd be like, what? Like, you not giving
yeah.
me this job, and now you want me to train this dude? So obviously that means I know more than him, and you gonna give him the job? Like, how did you stay
No,
cool still all
you
through
you
all
know
that,
what?
Vaughn?
And I know Rick Kaczynski real well. He did a great job. He molded some really good players.
Yeah.
Shout out to him. He did a great job. But like more importantly, like I was just always taught to not burn bridges. So like,
Mm,
what's it going to do for me to go in there and be disgruntled and walk out of there and piss everybody off when at
right.
the end of the day, like it was an opportunity to go and get in front of them and show
Right.
them that like I was on the right track, I was doing the right things,
Yeah.
not where they think I should be, but like, so like that was step one, and like, just keep growing and get molded. So I took it as a positive, even though at the time, like I was upset about it, but like very thankful that those things happened, Tone. Like I think too many guys immediately start to get like, you know, disgruntled or like
Mm,
disrespectful, and like you can't look at it like that. You gotta go get what you want. And
yeah.
I tell my players this all the time, and I live by this. Like what you put into it, you get out of it.
Mm,
What you put into it, you get out of it. When I started learning how to speak, public speak, when we had to go do clinics and stuff,
yeah.
man, that was like my biggest fear. Like getting up and speaking, I was
What?
horrible in Reddit class. I was awful. And
And see, that's
but when
crazy for me to hear you say because all I ever seen you was like, I seen you get up and speak. I remember seeing you get up and speak. I can't remember what it was. It was a team meeting. If it was what, I'm like, man, I could never do that. Like you just seemed like it was natural to you. So you saying it wasn't natural to you. You had to work at that.
no, I mean, and you got to go up in front of your peers and like know what you're doing and know what you're talking about. And like my first time really having to get up and do something like that was I was at Northern Iowa and I had to do my first clinic. And I was excited, but at the same time, I was nervous. And I reached out Coach Aiken, like, what do I do? He's like, man, go through your teaching progression, and he gave me some slides to use. And I'm like, nah, I ain't a slide guy. And then so I did it. And then like I'm going through it. And then probably halfway through it, I got comfortable and then it started to flow. And then everybody at the end was like, great job, great job. But then like I knew it wasn't like on point. And then so I would go to the NCAA convention every year. And so I went there and I go listen to the top D line coaches. I go in there and I'd be like, man, he ain't talking about nothing.
Mm,
He ain't teaching football. That ain't how you, like, there's 1,000 ways to do it now. right? There's 1,000 ways to do it. But like what I'm hearing was like this guy is just up here bull jiving just to get through this deal, but he ain't putting nothing real up there. I said when I get the opportunity to speak at the football convention, I'm gonna do it. But I started slowly doing these glazier clinics. But I would go in there and I would go in front of the team meeting room by myself, and I would go over it and I'd go over it and I would go over it so many times. I got so good at like doing my D-line clinic and my teach tapes and all that stuff without anything. And I could go off there off the dome and it just, but I put countless hours into it. And like I said, you go take a test, you walk in that test and you don't feel good about it, you didn't study. You go in there, you really study, you go in there, you put that test down, you the first one to walk out feeling good, banging that chest. And so like I just knew like, all right, this is what you're supposed to do. I remember driving from Green Bay to Iowa City with my son. All right. Coach Ferentz called me on our bye week and asked me to come speak before the Minnesota game. And Jaden, he's like, I want to come with you, Dad. So I take him. And the whole way there, I'm doing the presentation, my speech that I was going to do in front of the team. Because the last thing you want to do is get up in front of anywhere and have them be like I was when I went to some of those big time D-line coaches and be like, these guys is clowns.
Yeah.
And so I just, the whole 4-hour drive to Iowa City, Jaden was like, yeah, Dad, it gets better each time. And then so he sat in there and I gave my talk, and I still get nervous to this day about it. Because you want to make sure your message comes across and you're giving them good knowledge and those things. But it goes back to what you invest in, your time in, you're gonna get out. So I tell my guys all the time, what you put into it, you get out of it. If you come out here, you show up, we got an 8:00 meeting, you show up at 7:55 and we're done at 3:00 and you're out of here at 3:05, I'm like, what you getting is all you get. I said that my best guys I've ever had, all of them have been hungry. Kenny Clark, nose tackle, Green Bay. From the day he walked in, he takes notes. The day he walked in till I had him for 8 years before I left. All right, till his 8th season, he took notes every year like it was his first year. And one of the first ones in the building, one of the last ones out, technician, wanted to be coach, was hungry. But like the great ones, like, they want it. They're driven in the right ways. A lot of guys are talented, aren't driven in the right ways. We've seen a lot of talented dudes not pan out. But what are they actually putting into a tone? Like if I could go back as a player again, I would invest 10 times amount. We used to, rag on like Aaron Kentman because he was always in there, man. He was a grown man. You talk about a grown man.
Right.
He was married, lived in his own trailer with him and his wife.
Yep.
He was about that business from the day he walked on there.
Yep.
And I see why he was so successful. Because the man didn't put anything bad in his body.
Yep.
And he went to work every single day.
Yep.
And was a grown man out there because that's what he wanted to be.
Yeah.
And I wasn't that mature until later in my career. And so that's what I preach to these guys. But that goes back to getting up and public speaking. Like, if you just go up there and go through the motions, that's what you're going to put out there. And people aren't going to want to have you back.
Yeah.
And so, you're only as good as your last deal. So we got to put a good product out there.
Absolutely. I mean, and another thing that's so interesting about your story, and as we wrap up, I'm just noticing some key nuggets that you are sharing, and I want to make sure people don't miss this because I want to make sure that people are taking the lessons and the gems that you drop in. You've mentioned going back and taking counsel with Coach Aiken like 3 or 4 times since we've been talking today, and so the humility that you have, because Coach Aiken has coached a lot of people. And I'm not sure, I don't have a conversation with Coach Aiken a lot. I'm not sure how many people were taking advantage of that opportunity and that relationship to go back and talk to him, but you were. And he was giving you great advice. No, Jerry, don't do this, do this. no, don't take just the GM, the graduate assistant job, get a coaching a position job and a recruiting job. Like, here's the next step, the next move. Talk to me about the value of having somebody that you can call like that. And where did you get the humility? Because a lot of times, us as men, we don't want to humble ourselves to go and call somebody else and say, what do you think and how I should approach this? So, yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts on that, man.
I just know this: there's no better man that I've been around than Ron Aiken.
Mm,
Um, and he's had history. He was one of the first black head coaches. I mean, he was a head coach at Langston College. You probably don't know that, but
I
like
did not know that.
I go back and recruited Oklahoma, working at Oklahoma, and Coach Aiken, he makes some phone calls. So I walk into school, I get the red carpet treatment because of Coach Aiken.
Wow.
So Coach Aiken, he's got loads and loads of experience. And like he was always like a father figure to me. Um, and he was to a lot of other young men, but like, man, that's all I ever knew because I didn't have one at home. So I called Coach Aiken. I
Mm,
call him on Father's Day. Like I call him and his wife, Cheryl, is unbelievable.
yes.
Um, and shoot, all of his kids are like lawyers and doctors. Like
Mm,
like, but to call him and he told me to go take the junior college job at $1,500 stipend, six figure, most people would have laughed,
right.
right? But like he knew what he knew, he's seen it, he knew. And so like I value his opinion. Um, and he's never swayed me wrong. And he just told me though, he's like, Jerry, you know, he's from a small town in South Carolina. Like he had to overcome a lot to get to where he
Mm,
was at.
right.
And he just told me, he goes, there's no experience like coaching your own room. And I'm gonna just tell you this: I've had tons of conversations with guys I've worked with even at the NFL level that have been quality controls forever. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, look, you're comfortable. You're
Mm,
comfortable being a QC. I go, but you keep complaining about wanting to be a position coach. Go back, go coach D2 football.
mm,
I can't do that. Why can't you do that? You can do it, but go learn from your mistakes. And
mm,
now I got answers. When we're in a game, like I got answers. Like I know how to fix problems.
mm,
Um, and we got to get the guys to do it. But like that was valuable experience that I got from advice that he gave me. And so I would have never done anything any different.
this podcast is all about giving people their flowers, and so you clearly shout out to Coach Ron Aiken. He is a legend in Iowa football. He is a legend in college football in general, and so shout out to him. But we're all about giving flowers, and I want to give you your flowers, bro. Like, and I want to be the first to go on record. I hope this video get out around that I am campaigning for Jerry Montgomery to be the next head coach of Iowa football. I think Coach Ferentz' contract go to 2029 or something like that. We need pun in Iowa City in 20 after Coach Ferentz said. So I hope that this message gets out there, the word gets around. I'm not even sure if you want to take that job, but if you did, man, Iowa City would be jumping the
Oh yeah.
amount of people that you got connections with Iowa, your ability to recruit, the tough, hard nosed approach that you bring, your ability to be a head coach and be diplomatic, and do all of those different things that a coach has to do outside of coaching. I believe that you would excel at that, and so I'm just putting it out there, man. 2029, we need pun in Iowa City.
I'll tell you what, I would love to go back and do that. There's a lot of qualified guys that are deserving of it. You talk about Bell and Coach Woods and guys like that, but like whoever it is, I'd love to be a part of it. But just I love Iowa City. Always be home to me and my family. My wife graduated from there. I got two sons there right now. I hope all my kids go there because it's a great place to go to school. But shoot, we would definitely get it jumping. We get Kinnick,
What?
we get it right. So, but coach is still holding the fort down, and I love going back. Shoot, when I was in Green Bay, I was able to get to four games a year with our Thursday night games and bye
Yeah.
week and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
hopefully, I can make some now that I'm a little bit closer than being in New England. So but
Absolutely.
hey, don't forget about Carl Jackson now, Coach J. Now
Oh yeah.
he's a real
Shot
one too. I've been on some phone calls with
absolutely.
him. So
Shout out to Coach Jumping Jack Jackson, Coach Jackson, man. We had some good people. We had some really good coaches at Iowa. They still got some now, but we were very blessed to have them. Just seeing Coach Jackson and his wife and family and what he meant to the program and to a lot of us black players, and to see Coach Aiken. I wasn't a running back, so I wasn't in the room with Coach Jackson. I wasn't a D line, so I wasn't in the room with Coach Aiken. But I just loved all of my interactions with them, man. And they really gave me a vision of like, you can succeed and it don't have to be on the field. You could be a coach or something like that.
one story real quick. All right,
Yeah.
we're at practice. Tony Burr is on the scout team, making all the
Burrier.
plays, repeat plays,
Burrier used to
making the
shine on
plays.
the scout team, though. Burrier used to shine on the scout team.
Hey, Coach J says, "All right, Tone. All right, Tone. You out here making all these plays. Come game time, we can't find you." I still remember that like it was yesterday. I was like, "Oh no, Coach J, he out there."
Coach
Oh
Jackson,
man.
man. Pun. I thank you for taking the time to talk with me today. I really appreciate it, bro. I'm excited for your season that's coming up here. You guys have a great team, a phenomenal quarterback. I know the
Thank you.
AFC North is getting put on notice right now. I'm sure that you guys are going to be highly competitive next year, and so I wish you the best of luck in your season next year.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And Tone, I'm happy to see what you're doing, and I know you're very successful in life, and so this is neat that you're doing this and putting good content out there. So keep doing your thing.
Absolutely. Jerry Montgomery is the defensive line coach at the Cincinnati Bengals. He talks to us today from Cincinnati, Ohio. We are thankful to have him here. And check out the Cincinnati Bengals next year. They're going to be a beast to deal with.